Every group were statistically the same at the beginning, and the discovery group, they discovered a little bit, but really not too much. There's no statistical difference. So we leave. I mean, that's what students do in the real life of ESL learning and ESL instruction. But he was able to find a difference from the explicit instruction. Okay, and there are, as I said, lots more results from this, but this is a start. So what he was able to do with this design was to demonstrate his proof of concept. Okay, proof of concept is kind of what we think of in terms of, okay, so we've done a small project, and now we want to try to get lots of money from somebody to work on this project and scale it up and that. And so Jim's not quite there yet, but I think what he's done here, the kind of data, the fact that there are quantitative data, that there are outcomes that show differences, I think puts him in the position to do that if he wants to at the next step. He's writing research articles. He's got input for revisions of the tutor, and some of these revisions he was doing during the process of the study and then during the pilot study with a similar design, with kind of trying out the case studies. He was also kind of, that was kind of, design-based research kind of feeding back into the development. And then these data, I think, are also useful for making decisions about the curriculum. I think when it comes, to planning the course for the fall, I'm not going to have any problem convincing the teachers that they ought to be doing this kind of strategy instruction with the collocations. I mean, these data, I think, work well for that. And in communicating with teachers, you've got the quantitative data, okay, that's fine. But you also have those case studies are really useful for communicating with teachers, because you can see, exactly what somebody did. And you have the screen captures that show a student doing the revisions. I mean, that's exactly the kind of thing that the teachers want to see, that kind of in-depth learning that students are doing. So let me move to the second example then. And this is a project that was done by Elena Kotos. And again, with her, now is a multi-phase project. I'm actually going to use two different names for it here because it is in its second phase now. She developed a multi-unit teaching, a multi-unit piece that teaches analysis and controlled, and has students do controlled writing practice. And as I said, it's writing instruction directed at writing research articles. And this is a really important thing for graduate students to be able to do, graduate students in all fields. And it's something that their professors are very frustrated about, because they feel like, well, you're teaching them ESL, but they still don't know how to write this article with me. They still don't know how to write their dissertation. And so that was the problem that this project was tackling. So we wanted students to obtain knowledge and strategies for analyzing and producing research for writing. It's used in a face-to-face writing class with, again, multiple technologies for writing and collaboration. So students are doing lots of stuff online, and this is just one piece. And again, she wanted her research to demonstrate this proof of concept that you can actually teach kind of the genre analysis. You're actually teaching the students how to do genre analysis. You're teaching them how the linguistic form of a research article is used to convey the meanings that research articles convey. And then she wanted to be able to produce her own research articles, which she's actually very good at writing now. And she wanted to get input for revisions, and then, again, decisions about the curriculum. Very similar uses for this research. Okay, so here's the problem in writing research articles in English. And research articles look like they're really clear to people who are used to writing them, because they even have headings, in English. I mean, there's an introduction, there's the methods, there's the results, and there's a conclusion. Like, what could be so hard about that, right? It's all, they're marked, and it's not as if students haven't been reading these all through their graduate school career. So the professors are like, why can't they write? So what happens, though, with the students is they look at these, and in each section, there's just a bunch of words. It might as well be saying, introduction, quack, 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 quack. Yeah, put some words in the introduction. Oh, how long should that introduction? Oh, 2 paragraphs. Okay, two paragraphs. So the students don't know how to analyze what the meanings are that are conveyed in each of the sections of the research article. And so this is what needs to be taught. In this project, then, that's what Elena set out to do. And for her project, for her dissertation project, she focused on the introduction because, as it turns out, research articles are not all that simple. So she started small with the introduction. And there had been, in applied linguistics, there's work analyzing research articles in English. Particularly the work of John Swales at the University of Michigan. And so it's not like, you have to start from zero here. In introductions, based on Swales' work, the meanings that are in introductions to empirical research articles tend to be, first, the 3 main moves. Author establishes a territory. What's this about? Second, identifies a niche. And third, addresses the niche. How's the paper going to actually address the niche? Within each of those, there are steps. Okay, so even more specific meanings about how a researcher identifies a niche in a research article. And so I've outlined these here. There's indicating a gap, proposing a general hypothesis, highlighting a problem, presenting justification, raising general questions. These are all the kinds of things that authors do in research articles. Well, how did John Swales know that? Well, John Swales is a corpus linguist. He looked at a whole bunch of research articles in English. Okay? And so this is an analysis that comes from corpus linguistics work and is usable for teaching. She developed a system which basically, I'm going to talk more specific. In my examples, I'm going to talk specifically about highlighted problems. So you can note that one. That's part of the second move. In her project, she basically developed a system that puts the writer, the student, in touch with the corpus, very organized corpus of research articles. And students at this level, in working with research articles, need to look at research articles in their own field. Okay? Because, in fact, she's found that in applied linguistics, for example, we introduce the niche in a different way and using different words in a different amount than one would in, say, chemistry. Okay, so her corpus is divided by discipline, and she's got, 35 or 40 different disciplines in the corpus, each one containing the parts of the research article. The tutor itself allows for a number of different types of interactions with the corpus, but one is to explicitly teach these moves that I showed. A second is to provide examples for the student, so the student at any point can say, while they're writing, they can pull up the examples from, and so well, how did these authors in these 50 articles express these moves? And third, it provides the students the opportunity to submit their own, say, introduction, as she did in her first research. The student can submit their own introduction to their paper that's in agronomy, and the system will compare that introduction with all of the other introductions in agronomy to say, okay, well, you're missing this move, or you've only got 2% of your introduction is this move, whereas in your field, there's much more. So we get things like, here's what sort of a little piece of what the corpus would look like when you're looking at an example. If the student wanted to see an example of highlighting the niche in economics introductions, they could take a look at the corpus, and the parts that I have in red there are the place where the introduction is highlighted. And you can look at more of them, and there are lots of them. Now, the problem, though, with just having students look at them and say, okay, well, this is where the person highlights the niche. Is if students, again, are likely to see, quack, 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 okay, and all these problems. So what is it? What is it about these? The sentences are all different, so how do you highlight problems? And so the other piece of this needs to actually show the language in economics that is used for highlighting problems. For example, the growing interest, okay, growing, big, okay, so we're underscoring the issue there. However, and then some negatives, does not guarantee inefficient outcome, okay? Again, highlights the problem. Those are problem highlighting words. Understanding is limited. Hard to measure. Hard to measure is going to highlight a problem, right? Okay. So these are the kinds of things in econ introductions that are part of the explicit teaching part of the research writing tutor. For the feedback, this is the kind of thing that I described, where the student submits their own introduction and they get this kind of feedback saying that, well, in your introduction, 33% of your sentences are move one, whereas in your discipline, it's higher than that, okay, or it's lower than that, okay. So it gives this kind of comparison, all right. So by giving this kind of feedback, then the feedback's not perfect, and the original analyses of these articles, which were done by humans, so the corpus was tagged in this way, is probably not perfect either. But the question is, does it get the students to understand what these moves are and how to analyze the language that's needed to make the meanings that are in these moves? Okay, and so that's what the research focuses on. The research questions, and again, there were lots of research questions. These are a few. Does IAID, this is Intelligent Academic Discourse Evaluation, is the name of the first system. Does IAID's feedback draw students' attention to rhetorical meaning and form? Okay, rhetorical meaning, highlighting the niche. Form, things like hard to measure, okay? What's the language that's used to express those meanings? And then do students have a positive learning experience? Did students learn and improve? I'm going to show you I'm going to show you the overall design. This overall design, again, in mixed methods, has quantitative data and qualitative data. A little plus there means that these were collected simultaneously. And then there's another kind of follow-up that has, again, some quantitative and some qualitative aspects to it. Okay, so lots of different think-alouds, interviews, observations, open-ended survey questions, quantitative test scores, yes/no survey, Likert scale survey. Okay, so lots and lots of data collected. Just to give a couple of examples of results. For one of in the quantitative results from the survey, to get at the question of the form meaning connections, the question is, when you were revising your paper, did you think about the meaning you wanted to express? Okay, and students say yes, a lot. Other questions like that, they'll get at the form and meaning as well. Okay, so that was the survey. Questions like that. Qualitative data. came from things like the think alouds and the interviews. And again, here, these are some quotes that were taken out of the Attention to Meaning